Приветствую, мой уважаемый зритель. И я сижу в Стенли порол 2 снова. И хочу сказать честно, в этом видео мы уже приблизимся к Стенли порол 2. Немного, но приблизимся. Скоро ты увидишь этот экран в начале видео. Пока что продолжим, где мы остановились. А именно на том моменте, когда меня ослепило фотокамерами, и я увидел кнопки лифта на стене. Не спрашивайте, почему я так точно рассказал, где мы остановились. Смотри. Даже лифт есть. Ну, кнопки от лифта. Но меня ослепило. Знаю, да знаю.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Oh, new content. What does that mean, new content?
Hello, and thank you for playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. As you may know, the Stanley Parable was a video game released in 2013 on home computers. After receiving critical and commercial success, it was expanded upon in 2022 with the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, a reimagining of the game for consoles and home computers. The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe features exciting new content that broadens and expands the world of the Stanley Parable, delighting audiences the world over. Please, step inside and see what thrilling new adventures await in the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Oh, well, this sounds delightful. I'm very excited to see the thrilling new Ultra Deluxe content. Okay, so far it's an elevator. Nothing special yet, but I'm sure it's just the beginning of a mesmerizing adventure. Is it broken? What's going on here? Should we be moving somewhere or... Oh, there we go. All right, finally, at long last, it's on to the new content. I've never been more ready. Let's do it. I have to say, initial impressions of Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, mostly tedious. It's as if Oh, okay. Let's see the content. Give me the content, Stanley. All right. All right, let's see. It's the jump circle.
Нажмите сплэш, прыгать. Прикольно. Прикольно, да. Типа, смысл вокруг, если мы тут конечное пространство. Точно никуда он отпрыгнуть не может. Просто типа мы прыгаем в пустоте, ничего не делаем. Он ограничен, мы не можем лавочку запрыгнуть. Смысл этого? У него даже ограниченные прыжки.
Is that it?
И все?
Surely that's not all the new content. There has to be something else, right? Goodness. another
Еще
elevator.
один лифт.
Stanley, I have
Я
to
должен
say,
сказать, первое
initial
впечатление от этой
impressions
игры
of this game are not
так себе.
positive. It's just
А
elevators and
девушки,
jumping.
это
Is this what
называется
passes for
материалами.
exciting new content? If this is new
Может
content,
быть, мне
then I
надо
could just read you the
словарь
whole dictionary. There's
почитать?
20 hours of new
Там
content
материала
right there.
много.
Hell,
Часов
I could
20
count to
будет.
30
За
trillion. You
30
could put that on the
миллиардов.
box.
30
The
миллиардов
Stanley
надо посчитать.
Parable Ultra
Stanley Parable
Deluxe,
Ultra
now
Deluxe.
with over
Больше
1,000
почти
hours
часов
of new
новых
content.
материалов.
And every...
И
Oh,
каждый
wait.
что?
There's more.
Что-то
Very
еще.
good. Yes.
Отлично.
I
Да.
knew there had to be
Что-то
something else.
еще.
Let's see it.
Господи,
I'm ready for
да и я
whatever it
готова ко
is.
всему. Спасибо, что...
That's it?
И
Oh,
всё.
you've got to
Да
be
вы
kidding me.
издеваетесь.
You see, Stanley?
Видишь, Стэнли?
This is what
Вот что
happens
происходит,
when
когда
greedy
жадные
video
заложники
game developers with
выбрасывают
no
на
respect for their
рынок
fan base rush a cheap
дешевые
expansion to
товары,
market
стекло
for
уже
no reason
канадом,
other
лишь
than
бы
to make
еще
an easy
$1
dollar. And don't get me
заработать.
started on the level
И
of
эти вещи
craftsmanship that's gone into it. In
продавать
fact, I'm
нечего.
looking right now at the
Ого,
game's
я
achievements,
смотрю на
and
свои
it's hard to
достижения.
believe one of them
Солнце
actually
не
says,
будет
test
достижения
achievement,
не
please
трогать.
ignore. What quality assurance
Ну,
department
никто,
signed off on this?
тестировщик
I'm
был послушный.
infuriated and I'm
Я
offended, and
пытаюсь, я
I intend to
оскорблял.
find these
Зато
people on
выходил
Twitter
Твиттер,
and hold
и
them
все это
personally
скажу.
accountable. It's my
Ой,
fault,
я виноват,
Stanley.
Стэнли.
I built up
Я
too
слишком
much
много
anticipation around the
рекламировал
new content, I'm
материалы.
afraid. It could never have lived up to
Ожиданий
such
ни одному
expectations.
материалу не оправдал.
If you're still with me,
Давай лучше
why don't we just
просто
reset the game
перезапустим
and we'll
игру.
try to get back to what the Stanley Parable is really about? No
Без
frills,
наружек,
no
без
gimmicks.
заманухи.
Just you and me
Просто
having a
классно
great time
проведем
together like
время, как
always.
раньше.
What do you say,
Что
friend?
скажешь, друг? Ну давай, давай. Ой, боже. О, о. Эй,
Stanley, come over here.
Подойди сюда.
In the vent. I want to show
Вентиляцию,
you
что-то
something.
интересное покажу. Смотри, ну, последний раз, когда ты попросил меня выступить перед кучей людей, меня ослепили фотокамеры, и как бы там дальше еще эта дверь, и эта дверь, этот проход, там что-то интересное, поэтому я просто закрыл дверь. И обычно сомневаться начинается, да?
Oh, you don't want to see the cool surprise I made for you? Well, fine. You're a dork anyway, so who cares?
Так что не важно. Чё, это просто игра продолжается? Контент. За контент. Уверен, что будет.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Я просто вернулся. Вышел.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. The lounge was sublime, a work of art. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left. Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't 5 years ago.
По-хорошему, Стэнли Парабл, нельзя было спрыгнуть, надо прыгать, и, ну ладно. Думаю, сейчас тоже не изменилось, но если, например, прыгнуть на коробке или, о, куда звонок, нет, карта звонок. Ну, пойдем.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really.
Уже есть проход.
But in his eagerness to prove that he is in control of the story and no one gets to tell him what to do, Stanley leapt from the platform and plunged to his death. Good job, Stanley. Everyone thinks you are very powerful.
Очень впечатлены. Нет, если поведенную машину, ты не будешь больше. Ну, блин, печально. Что-то... Мы опять тут оказались. Отлично. Пойдем в вентиляцию, значит.
Psst. Stanley, come over here. In the vent. I want to show you something.
Полезем, значит, в вентиляцию. Раз нам дают второй шанс. Загрузка. Загрузись, пожалуйста. Ну, пожалуйста. Ну, пожалуйста. Ну, загрузись. Это сюрприз. Бесконечная загрузка. Ты хотел мне показать бесконечную загрузку? Я, в принципе, и сам могу ее посмотреть на нее. Ранее за нее... О, да, наконец-то.
Okay, you remember how cheap and unsatisfying the new Ultra Deluxe content turned out to be, but it got me thinking about the past, and how much better the Stanley Parable used to be. So I made something special and tucked it away here where the game's developers won't find it. Just our little secret. Take a look.
Мой ФПС, да.
I call it the memory zone. It's where I've been storing all my favorite memories so I can relive the peak experiences of my life whenever I want. Experiences like the launch of the Stanley Parable on PC. You see, Stanley, doesn't the memory zone remind you of how wonderful Stanley Parable was before it was sullied with a cheap re-release? Remember back in October of 2013, when the game originally launched? Back then, video games had integrity. Back then, it all meant something. Oh, the waste.
Ясно.
Is where I keep reviews of the Stanley Parable. Like this stunning triumph of games journalism, 10 out of 10 from Destructoid.com. James Stephanie Sterling writes, and I quote, "Where so many games that aspire to be more than games end up less than any form of art, Stanley Parable strives and then succeeds to be every game ever created." Did you hear that, Stanley? Every game ever created. That's how grand and all-encompassing the original Stanley Parable was. It was literally every game ever created. It was Skyrim, it was all of them, and now it's nothing. It's no games at all. It isn't even the Stanley Parable anymore. It's just a husk now. A lifeless husk with an hour of new elevator content.
Я хочу вниз. Я хочу в подвал. Меморизм. Что-то там. Оригинал.
Here's another moving passage, this time from GameSpot. The Stanley Parable is both a richly stimulating commentary on the nature of choice in games, and one that offers some of the most enjoyable, surprising, and rewarding choices I've ever been confronted with in a game. 9 out of 10. Don't you get it, Stanley? The game was perfect. It didn't need anything else. It didn't need new content. It just needed to be left alone, to spend the rest of time collecting dust in the hallowed hall of beloved video game memories. These were simpler times, Stanley, but I wouldn't give to go back to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory before. What's this? What's down here?
Oh, нет, это же...
Oh no. God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game district. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collected down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny! I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
Да хороший же лежал. Он же хороший был. Что-то хороший посмотрел. Там был хороший нормальный отзыв. Я уверен. Вот хороший. Вот, почему ты его не смотришь? Смотри, какой он огромный, он даже какой-то время, король на аватарке.
Okay, let's see what this one says.
Вот еще.
While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachy nuts gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley, I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy, honestly, you can. Oh goodness, this is actually quite shocking for me. I always, well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Dear, what an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks are my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure, like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. I've got to say, you constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I do anything for the customers. Yes, a skip button we shall have. And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you 40 times so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No, 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 no. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people, and if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story, and the choices, or what have you, and therefore, by becoming it is. So on and so forth, until inevitably, we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once. So, now you see. Oh, you're back. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory is that any choice you've ever made... Well, there's sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go pop, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about it. Okay, welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last one was, well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no... Oh, Stanley,
О, Стэнли,
you're back.
ты вернулся.
You're back.
Ты вернулся.
Oh, my goodness.
Силы
I have
небес,
someone
мне
to
нужно с
talk
кем-то
to again.
поговорить.
Stanley,
Стэнли,
I think it's been a week.
прошла неделя.
Or 2 weeks.
Или даже 2.
I've been sitting
Я
here
все
all
время
that
просидел
time, just
здесь.
sitting
Просто
here,
сидел
not a single
молча все
person
эти
to speak
дни.
with. And you'd think that that's
Скажешь,
just
что
how it's
слушай, все
always been,
изменилось.
right? Me talking,
Ты
you saying
всегда
nothing.
так молчишь.
Would you think that it's
В
exactly the
обычное
same as
время мы
always?
выступаем в тех
Doesn't
же
that feel
ролях.
like what
Что
we've
ты изменился
already
от того,
been
что ты меня
doing?
не
Me
слышишь?
just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the
Ничего,
same at
как
all.
тебе
It isn't
забыл.
even close.
Ничего
Because
нет.
I know you can't hear me
Потому
once
что
you
ты
push
как
that
будто
button. That's what I'm
пропадаешь.
realizing now,
Вот что.
Stanley.
Ну,
I'm
просто.
realizing that
Оказывается,
I
мне
needed
больше
to
не
know that
знать, что
someone was
кто-то
listening. I
слушает.
needed there to
Мне
be a
не сосуд,
vessel
в котором
through which my
вливаются мои
words were...
слова.
Oh, hello, it's you.
Здравствуй.
You're here
Ты
again. Welcome.
вернулся
I
совершенно.
have
Мне
had
было
time to think
подумать о
about
тебе.
you and about us and about everything we've
Обо
been
всем,
through. I've
через что
had
прошло
so
столько
much time.
времени.
I stopped keeping
Ты
track
пришел
after a
все
year.
дни
Have
через
you ever
год.
sat down in one
Ты
place and
не
not
сидел
moved
на
for
одном
one
месте без
entire year?
движения
Let
целый
me
год.
describe it for
Сейчас
you.
тебе это
To
опишу.
begin with, there
Начиналось
is only
только чувство
regret.
тоски.
There is
Эй! 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 Чувак! У тебя есть вообще? Куда ты пропал? Ну, ладно, дальше. Это можно? Или это будильник? Это хоть какой-то будильник?
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough.
Капля? Вот тут капля. Ха. 2. Дальше.
The end is never the end, 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 is never the end.
Ничего. Только капля. Капли потолок. Капли пробили потолок. Нормально. Он уже настолько стал слабым от ржавчины, что капелька смогла просто уничтожить его. Пипец. Ну, летний ржавчина. Свет, солнышко. Прекрасно. Прекрасно, конечно. Вот труба. Интересно, сколько столетий прошло? Не миллионолетий. О! Трава заросла. Класс. Все спокойно. Ночь. Трава исчезла. Песок. Крики. Давайте вперед лучше. Еще хуже. Бетон. Он превратился в песок. Ладно, дальше. О. Как он работает? Меня уже на миллион лет кинуло. Нажать это камушек? Или это чьи-то шаги? фильм. Стоп, если было завести, если было завести, получается, они пропали? Игра пропала. Все пропало. Остался песок. Это же воспоминание, это уже завести. Кто завести? Получается, игра пропала. Отзывы пропали, игра пропала, скачка пропала, все пропало. Игра умерла. Логично, через миллиард лет, наверное, все игры умрут. Через миллиард лет, серьезно, миллиард лет прошло где-то. Оуч. Оуч. Как неожиданно.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself, that's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
Чего? Новый контент. О май гад. Я уже думал остановиться, заканчивать это видео, потому что я уже его и так на несколько частей разделил, потому что я уже записывал целый час. По-моему, 2 части разделил по полчаса, это все равно много. Но тут еще какой-то новый контент. Если выпуск придется удалиться, да? Ну, пойдем посмотрим.
Oh, good. You noticed my sign. Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
Очень классно. Я уже раз планировал закончить видео, но тут, оказывается, еще какой-то новый контент. Это уже части видео. Интересно, сколько мы в этой игре еще засядем? Наверное, очень долго. Но я буду играть. Очень долго.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley parable and about how roundly disappointing his ultra-deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra-deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever the Stanley Parable 2.
Stanley Parable 2. Ну, это мы увидим уже в следующий раз. Конечно, я это увижу сейчас, но вы это увидите в другом видео. Да, я знаю, на таком интересном моменте останавливаться нельзя. Планирую на этом закончить. Так уже, наверное, это видео растянулось на полчаса. Поэтому это увидите уже в следующей серии. Пока закончим на прекрасной ноте. Не знаю. Пойдите заварить чаек. Подумайте о великом. Прочитайте книгу. А пока остановимся на этом месте. Ну, я-то остановиться не буду, вы остановитесь на этом месте. А я пойду дальше. А вы будете только в следующем видео. Да. Поэтому прощайте. Я ухожу в Stanley Parable 2.